My health world, namaste, enlightenment.
Namaste, beautiful souls. We have another going to be very riveting episode of My Health World. Joined with, we haven't seen him for a long time, Greg. So good to have you here, my co-anchor. And
Namaste.
Greg, we have to say that we're the news now. This is what this podcast is going to be about. If you're not listening to the psychics right now, if you're only tuning into MSM, then wow, you could be being led astray. And also the incredible Chris is here, joined us for our very last podcast. That was a sensation as well, how to slay the inner demon. So we'll go on from what we've already been discussing in 2020 this year. We really designed this podcast, even though we are the business My Health Yoga, we actually designed this podcast to talk about the relevant issues of 2020, back at the beginning of the year with the unfolding of the COVID pantomime and all that involved, multidimensionality. We have been exploring ourselves as star seeds, light workers. What I want to talk about or intro with today is that we have from 2012 come into the age of Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the age of Aquarius is personified by the theme I know. And this is why I talk about listening to the psychics at this time, because when you know, it comes from a higher place within you. It comes from your third eye or your cerebrum right up here, the top of the head. It's this, and actually, for some reason today, if you're watching this on video rather than listening to us, I've got this light stream coming off the mirror behind me, and I think it's quite interesting. This is exactly what happens. So the third eye crosses with the Kundalini rising, and it creates a chalice effect. So it drinks in, it siphons in divine or universal energy. So if anyone's watching this, you can actually see a depiction of what happens. So you are illuminated in the optic thalamus. Therefore, you know what you know. You hear psychics, they don't use logic. They use these terms, I know, I see, I feel, I hear, I sense. It's a different part of the brain. It's the right brain, creative, spiritual brain, not the left brain that's all about formulas, logic, and I
Science.
guess science, not the true science. It's
Exactly.
about plugging into other people's so-called experts' version of the truth. We were in the age of Pisces prior to 2012. Now, that was the two fishes. This is more about I believe, I doubt, the two opposing forces. So this is where we may go to church, or we may listen to politicians, or we may listen to scientists, and I believe this and I believe that, I believe this formula. But then we have doubt creep in because something deeper within us, the higher truth within us, says, oh yeah, not so sure. Now we're into the age of I know. So you think about, we're only 8 years into that new astrological cycle. Now, for those who are unaware, each age lasts 2,000 years. So we're really only at the tip. So of course, chaos is going to ensue, which it has. And for those that are feeling frustrated, and look, we're feeling frustrated too, let's be honest. We want to talk about that today. We want to talk about diving deeper into our frustrations and why that's important to shift the energy forward. We're going to talk about the good old sheep. Now, that's actually an affectionate term. That's the best term that we can come up with, and many people are talking about. That's when people are following en masse the mainstream media, and why that's very dangerous, actually, and why that may lead you somewhere that you don't truly want to go. I've got the experts here, Greg and Chris, today, who'll probably talk more than me. So I just wanted to start with that introduction, and let me hand it over to you, Greg, and let's talk about what's been going on for you in terms of frustrations and why you feel it's important that we honour that and move out
What
the
a
other side
beautiful
of that.
introduction. What a nice way to set us up. So hi, everyone watching, and hi, everyone listening. It's good to be here with you. And thank you for joining us again for another episode. So I guess to start off with, one thing which I think a lot of people are forgetting is just looking at the basic numerology of the year being called 2020. And I think for us, I know for us here at My Health, and for those who listen to us and work with us, we always remember the metaphysics, but there's still some people out there that aren't aware. If you think 2020, and what does that mean? In modern day science, in modern day medicine, 2020 is referring to perfect vision. So rather than blaming the pantomime that Carrie referred to before, rather than blaming even politicians, governments, natural disasters, all of these things which we're constantly being told they're ruining our lives this year. Let's flip that a little bit and work out that the only thing changing this year is that we're being asked to open our eyes. We're actually being asked to start looking for ourselves rather than walking around blind, walking around with a sense of, paper bag over the head or bucket over the head in the sand, all of those metaphors that we see when we look at the sheep analogy that's going around at the moment. So what does it mean to open our eyes? First of all, we have to remember that the eyes here are only a very small part of the nervous system, and they're actually trained to only see what we have already been exposed to and what we align with according to our limited beliefs. So our eyes, as amazing as they are, they're not to be trusted at all times. Furthermore, if we go a little bit deeper into what we call in the spiritual world the third eye, that's what I believe we're being asked to activate this year. 2020 is more than about saying it's time we look into what's going on and it's time we go down the rabbit holes. It's time we really start putting pressure on politicians or pressure on the government. It's much more than that. It's time that we actually point the finger of blame inward, because for too long, prior to this new age of Aquarius, I think for too long, it's been all outward blame. Well, you did this and he did this, my mum did this, my dad did this, my teacher did this. And when we say point the finger of blame inward, that's not to say that it cancels out any self-love or self-respect. It actually does the opposite. We learn to love our own journey, our own humanity, which of course that's not perfect. But doing this will not only activate the third eye, and I know we've spoken about this in previous episodes of My Health World, but we really need to focus on that at the moment, opening the third eye and realizing that 2020 isn't a bad year. 2020 isn't about all of these awful things that are happening out there, because those are the details. Those are those little details which will ebb and flow. We're living in 3D Earth at the moment. Who's to say there won't be another cyclone next week? Who's to say there won't be another virus in 5 years' time? Who's to say that there won't be a famine, another pandemic? All of these things will come and go, and that's part of being human, at least while we're human, at least while we're here in the 3D. So rather than all of those things, how about we turn the finger inward and say, well, what have I been doing this whole time? Rather than blaming others, we actually want to open our eyes, open the third eye, and take a good look at what we've been doing and what part we've been playing. And I think that's really what we're going to chat about today, is what part we have been playing and how this new age of Aquarius, how the new cycle, this new multi-millennial cycle that we're actually stepping into, and as Carrie said, we're right at the start, how things are going to play out in a very, very different way. Because once we really start coming from that place of authentic vision, third eye vision, the trust vision, the fear disappears. And if you look at who's providing the fear at the moment, I'm not here to blame mainstream media or to blame social media. And Carrie mentioned frustration. A lot of us are getting frustrated at the moment. Frustration it's from the liver. And the frustration is with the lack of flow. In Chinese medicine, the liver wants everything just to flow like a beautiful stream. And at the moment, nothing's flowing. We expected this to happen. We were told this was going to happen. Then we were told that was going to happen. And the whole year, it's been disappointment and disaster and fear. And rather than blaming, just observe where the fear is coming from and then do a 180 and cast your vision in the other direction. And right now, it's pretty clear where the fear is coming from. So what we're being asked to do is to look in the other direction, look upwards, look at the universe, look downwards, look at the earth. But it's time to look within and open our eyes up.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. And that's the magnificence of frustration, that when we lean into frustration, it actually gives us a clue. It actually gives us an insight, what it is, where we need to pay attention, how we can navigate through that, how we can actually harness that energy and ride upon that very tumultuous force to move us in the direction that we want to go. And of course, depending on when you're listening to this, but we've just had the US elections. Now, we're Australian, but all eyes are on America at the moment. For those of you who are light workers, starseeds, and I guess that's really who's listening to this podcast, you're aware that President Trump has been put up as a symbol of a light worker who is playing his role. Now, he's not our saviour. He is playing his role. He is working for the greater good, may I say that, not in the sense of stay safe, greater good, stay at home, greater good, but rather he has been ensuring that the child sex trafficking is cleaned up. He is moving us away from usury in terms of the financial system. He's putting measures into place. Now, for those who don't believe me, I'm guessing you're hearing what I would call the lies from the mainstream media. There is definitely a campaign on to denounce all that Trump is and ever has been. And yes, he's not perfect and he's made plenty of mistakes in his life. We know that. But who hasn't? You know, put your hand up if you actually can say that you're a perfect human being. He is working on behalf of traumatized, abused children. He is working on behalf. He even passed he signed an executive order the other day to minimise animal cruelty. Yep. I can't give you the specifics of that, but this man actually does have a big heart.
And they're all listed. I'll interject just for 1 second while you're on that topic. If anyone is interested, you can get the information from the whitehouse.gov website. Now, that website obviously at the moment is going to be a little bit more right-leaning because of who's sitting in the Oval Office. However, that website is not influenced at all. So if you just want to look at exactly what executive orders have been signed, that's a good place to at least start, because you don't have to worry about all the opinions that you get, right, Carrie? You know, you can just, as you said,
you've got to do your research.
You've got to do your research in a very astute way, because not only is it the animal cruelty, I also heard of that one, a lot of really empowering executive orders to do with things like reducing tax, improving job prospects, particularly in lower socioeconomic areas. But the big one that I loved only recently was dropping the price of a lot of pharmaceutical drugs. And you think, see, he doesn't have them in his pocket. He's got no interest. He regardless of what we're being told, he's doing the right thing for the people. Even the three, I think it's either 2 or 3, correct me if I'm wrong, significant peace deals that he has struck this year. It's Israel, I think Israel, I won't say them because I might get them wrong. There's at least 3. And yes, as Carrie said, there's going to be good and bad with everyone, but doesn't it behoove us as, you know, as awakened souls to actually look at something from an objective standpoint rather than just the endless barrage of ridicule that we're being fed from the MSM and just accepting that as gospel?
So, Chris, can you talk about the New World Order, what Biden represents as opposed to what Trump represents in terms of wanting equality for all and, you know, really putting his balls on the line and making sure that he's pulling down the cabal who are a bloodlust cult?
Yeah, absolutely. 2020 has been an extraordinary year, I think, for everybody. And I'm included with many that have learnt an enormous amount that I previously didn't know about prior to this year. And that's been through a lot of research, a lot of individual going down a lot of rabbit holes, trying to find out, I guess, information for myself, not necessarily taking on what the mainstream media is providing to me, because I think we all know, unless you've been living under a rock, that, you know, Murdoch and his cronies own the mainstream media. So we're not talking about one section here. It's not just 9MSN. We're talking about CNN, NBC, the whole works. It's actually coming from one derivative. So it's one message coming out repeatedly in a slightly different way, but the message is still the same. So if you can just do yourself a favour for one moment and give yourself an opportunity to do some research yourself, and that doesn't even sometimes mean that you have to go for hours on end Googling and searching and trying to find independent freelance journalists' opinions, etc., etc. Sometimes that is about finding that out for yourself, and that's pretty much where I sit today. I'm a little bit tired and over researching information now. I've just spent probably 6 or 7 months doing that this year. I've pretty much got what I need to know. What I've aligned myself to now is understanding how does certain information and messages, how do I feel about that personally. I'm taking my own intuition now and my own energy on those things, and I'm making my decisions moving forward based on what sits right for me. How does that make me feel? Is that going to benefit my journey going forward? Does that make me a better person? Am I more loving? What things do I need to work on? And I think when we can sort of just push all this madness aside at the moment, because at the moment there is just so many talking heads just going off on tangents and giving you a barrage of information that is so difficult to digest, that sometimes you just need to squash those talking heads and go, right, how do I feel about that? How does that resonate with me? When you come from that perspective, there is no wrong answer. You'll do what is right for you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to align with mainstream and follow everyone in a sheeple pattern. It may mean that you have to leave that herd and do what's right for yourself. But in coming back to what Carrie said in regards to the possibilities at the moment of obviously a Biden regime coming in, I mean, of course, we're talking about another country with another governmental system. It does affect us, whether we want to believe it or not, because the US is a major political power when it comes to the influence over other countries, and that can be done through a number of ways, whether it's through trade, whether it's through tourism, whether it's through finance, wealth, lending, the list goes on and on. Look, I'm not an expert on governmental issues. However, I am an expert on energy. And when it comes to understanding what the Biden regime's platforms are, what their agendas are, basically we're taking a swing of the axe back into the draconian laws. And it's not hard to see pretty much what Trump has been talking about with regards to elections possibly at this stage being rigged, and the evidence that he has will come out over the next few days. I've been doing a little bit of research on that. Now, whether that changes the result, I don't know. But what it does do is at least offer the American people and also globally people that, you know, when we talk about governments, you can even put your pharmaceutical companies in this, politicians, law enforcement, the legal industry. It's all pretty much in the same circle, that it all derives from the same area. Churches is another great example.
Royals.
So what he's trying to do at the moment is expose them. That's not just the election process at the moment. It's everything that we touch and see, that it is tampered with by man. It's infiltrated. It's basically, it's not the truth. It's coming from one party that is trying to implement a regime and steadfast on that particular journey. And when you've got a large quantity of what I would call our 1%, with the money and the finances that are able to dictate that. So what I'm trying to say here is look at who controls the media, look at who controls your TVs, your radios, your newsprint, and that's where the information comes from. So if you're glued to that as being part of your information moving forward, you're really only getting the cabal or one side of its story, because that's what they want you to hear. Now, you may disagree with me, you may agree with me, I really don't care. At the end of the day, I'm just telling you that that's what's coming through for me after months and months and months and months of research. And when you really do have a good look at what you're reading and what you're hearing, there's so many more questions than answers. It really doesn't line up. And it's never the same story. It's changing direction all the time, because the more state of confusion that they can put you in is where they want you to be. Is because if you're so confused, or if you're so fed up and you're so tired and you're so dragged down by the entire messages that are coming across, in the end you just give up and you just go, all right, I'll align, just stop with the barrage, I can't deal with it anymore. So they're very clever with the way they play on your psyche as well. And this is where I was talking earlier about getting back to self, is that if you want to start making decisions, use your human God qualities, the ones that are innate within you, that cost nothing, takes no time at all. And what's wrong with answering to yourself? And what's wrong with believing in yourself? You're here, you're living in this body, you're having this experience. So give yourself an opportunity to provide something that's more innate, that's within you. You don't have to live by someone else's rules, someone else's agendas, just because they put it up in the newspaper that, you know, here's the 10 ways that we have to live this week. That's not a world. That's called slavery. And we've been living in a slavery world for as long as I can remember. I mean, I've been watching some wonderful people do some documentaries that even date back to 2012. I watched one last night with an absolute beautiful wizard of a man, Santos Bonacci, who I have only come to hear about this year, and I've certainly listened to a lot of his stuff. And, you know, thank God there's men and women around that are not afraid to tell these messages and tell them how they are, because I'm still learning and I'm understanding this is crazy for us all, and it's a very difficult time. But if we can just align with those messages from people and ourselves that feel true and ring true, then we'll start to move forward progressively in a much more lighter way, not feeling the heavy burden of all the cabal messages, which, to be perfectly honest, don't make a great deal of sense. And to be perfectly honest, aren't helping humanity.
Nope.
I mean, if our world was so good to live in and such a paradise, then why do we have the chaos? Why do we have the frustration? Why do we have US elections saying that he's lying and that's an untruth and that's fraudulent? I mean, if everything was meant to be as it is, then we certainly wouldn't be having this conversation. And not that that's wrong either. I mean, everything is in its own divinity, and we have to work through this process to get to our golden age. And I guess my message out of today is that, yeah, just take the snippets that you need from the outside world, but don't ever forget yourself. Don't start believing in yourself again and start trusting yourself again, because seriously, you have the answers. You just haven't given yourself the opportunity. So, yeah, that's what I'd like to say at the moment.
Yeah, beautiful. Use your discernment. Bill Gates came out congratulating Biden for the win, which, as we know, is not officially the president. And in his tweet, he said that he looked forward to working on poverty. And anyone with discernment would actually know that he is an evil man, because just by saying that, if you look at his bank account, all he has to do is give up a portion of his wealth and there would be no poverty. So he is the biggest hypocrite. And I'm not making this up. These are facts. You just have to stay aware. You have to keep your eyes open. We're in an energetic battle, and the only thing that's going to save us is our own heightening of consciousness. That's it. There is nothing else.
You said an interesting thing, Chris, actually, which it's occurred to me this morning. It's not even, for those of us who, you know, we love this stuff and we're very invested in our spiritual growth, in our ascension, and just in doing the right thing for ourselves, then we're going to take a year and we'll probably be researching this for the rest of our lives. If you're content just to know a little bit, at least do a couple of minutes of basic research. And this morning, I was had a quick conversation with someone. Carrie, you already know this because a friend of mine shared something, and I just had reached a threshold of the day. I should have disconnected from the portals, and quite in a quite grounded and neutral way, I simply said, "Oh, I saw that you've shared that. What are some of your favorite policies on this person, or is it just the fact that she's female that you're so excited?" And you know, that's cool. That's great. Love the fact that we've got females in
Female
government.
and black.
Yeah, and female and black. Is it one of those?
They're
Is it both of those?
very clever how they float that
They're
out.
clever, but I just
They're
don't.
going to pull it. They're going to pull it the moral
You know what,
strings.
Carrie? I don't even want to say that they're clever anymore, because I think that that's giving them too much credit. I think that it's not that they're clever. I think it's that that those who are still eyes closed, sheepish, I think that they're so brainwashed that they don't even have to be clever. Because the reason I say that is because once I said this to this friend of mine, and she said, "Oh, I know that she was the DA in San Francisco. I know that she comes from a law background. I know that she danced as a teenager, and I danced, so that's really cool." And I thought, let's do a quick Google, just a quick Google. And this is Google, which we know Google is not reliable at whatever. But I thought, let's just do a Google. The first few articles that came up discussed, in particular, this person's absolutely reprehensible history in the African American community in America itself. But talking about things like in slavery, really bad issues with prisons, really bad issue with advocating the death sentence in really dodgy cases, which have very low proof. Things like this, that I'm not saying what's right and what's wrong, but at least if you don't want to do 6 or 7 months like Chris did, or years and years like we're going to do, at least do a little bit of research before you just blindly go, "Oh, well, they're telling me that person's this or that person's that, down with Trump." It's not as black and white as that. And we're not here to tell you, believe everything Trump says. We're not here to tell you that Trump is the best person in the world. I've heard what's come out of Trump's mouth, and some of it is disgusting. But remember that we're not asking you to sit down for a family picnic with Donald Trump. We're not even asking you to like the fella. We're just saying, if you're spiritually minded, make up your own mind from your facts, not just because Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is telling you something. And you tell me, there has been times in the past where we've had all of our information censored, and those times are not times that I want to go back to. I wasn't alive for most of them, but I've read my history books. And when they start censoring information, that's not a good way to be heading into a technology age. Not only are they censoring it, but they're really manipulating it as well. And I think if we were crackpots, if we were all just talking gobbledygook and there was no reality in what we were saying, and if Trump really was just a complete moron who had no idea what he was saying, do you really think that they would spend the time and money to censor it? Because what's dangerous about an idiot? Fair enough. I hear some of you say psychically, well, he has the nuclear codes. Cool, good argument. He's also had them for the last 4 years, and what has he done with them? What happened to all of those predictions? We're going to be at war because Trump's in. There's going to be a nuclear war because Trump's in. He's going to get rid of gay marriage. He's going to be so bad for the African American community. Everything that was said, nothing's happened. So again, it's about saying, where are you getting information from? And if you don't want to go down the rabbit holes, at least do a quick little bit of information seeking from reliable, like Chris said, reliable sources before you just take the word of the portals and the media. Anytime that you're questioning where your information is coming from, just look up the chain and follow. I heard this year. It might have been you, Carrie, that said it, but just follow the money, because the more money that's involved in where you're getting your information from, by law of the universe, the less authenticity that's going to have. And you can argue that if you wish. But in my experience, and I trust my own remote viewing, my own intuition, my own psychic abilities, that's the truth. So if you're looking at information sources that have influences with pharmaceutical companies, influences with, anything to do with some people in the world, I'm not going to mention names, you do your own research, who have, like Chris mentioned before, the 1% of the wealth, why would they be invested in Joe Blow, who's earning 100 grand a year? Why would they care about what he puts on Twitter? It doesn't make sense, Open your eyes.
On that point, Kamala Harris's husband is a lawyer for Big Pharma, I think it's Merck. I
Big
could have that correct.
surprise. I can't remember which one.
They're the company that are funding the vaccines. So,
Yeah, it's
follow the money trail.
and that's what I mean. It's follow the trail, and it's not.
We're all in bed with each other.
I heard it might have been Santos who said it, but I heard someone say on one of the podcasts I was listening to this week that there's a difference between divine synchronicity and almost like a cabal coincidence. It's these things are not just, oh, that's an interesting coincidence. And you don't even have to do rabbit holes. This is not, we're not talking about, I'm not sitting up until 3 a.m. anymore searching to try and find secret Mission Impossible documents and they're all encoded in different languages. I would love it. And I wish they were smart enough to hide it. But you actually, it's there in front of your eyes. You don't even have to search for it anymore. Take a look at Biden's history. Just a couple of years ago, he had a speech saying, I do not support gay rights and I do not support gay marriage. That was him speaking. He said, me and Obama were both against it. It was not that long ago. It's there on YouTube. Look at the video of how he interacts and treats children. I can't even watch it because it makes me want to vomit.
People who deny he's a pedophile, when he sniffs children, he kisses them inappropriately with an open mouth on the lips. Again, we're not even making this up. It's
right there in front of you.
For yourself. But be very discerning that the mainstream media is controlled by, I think it's only 6 parent corporations, all cabal-owned corporations. They are not giving you the truth. They are gangsters, absolutely, without question. There may be some okay news outlets. I've heard that Sky News Australia with Alan Jones is fairly reputable. Other than that, you have to keep your eyes open. I don't recommend even watching mainstream media.
No,
some people say they like to watch it just so they know what that
I used to,
is.
Carrie. I used to say that. And do you know, I think I said to you when we were chatting early this morning, and I don't know about you, Chris, but I used to at least watch it because I thought, I just want to know. And I think as I've adapted more to 5D, and if you're listening to this and you're sitting there going, what's this about the cabal? What's this about 5D? Make sure you've watched the My Health 5D Welcome to New Earth program, the healing program. So if you still haven't watched that and you're now coming towards the end of 2020 and you want to wake up, it's going to be challenging because some of the things you're going to read will upset you, make you angry, they will make you sick. And if you don't have the basis in your own spiritual truth, and again, we've put it together for you, My Health put it together, Carrie did the work, this complete free healing program. There's no hidden agenda. There's no sign up and pay this money. We're not about that. We just want to put together this program. And what that will do...
Chris wrote the workbook.
There's a workbook included.
The research has been done for you.
And the reason this is useful is that then when you are doing your own research and your own rabbit holes, if you find things, you will understand how you've been programmed. You'll understand what cognitive dissonance is. And more importantly, you'll be able to make immediate changes to how you live your life, your daily rituals, what you eat, what you do, your meditation. And we're not pushing this from an agenda of a business. It's not about that. This is just something that we've put together, and not just My Health.
It's all free. All our podcasts this year,
and it's our service. It's our service back to humanity and to ourselves.
Magenta Pixie,
some of the most incredible healers are in that program.
Sasha Stone. I mean, all of the top speakers at the moment are part of that program.
And you can do it. You can do it on your own. You don't have to tell your husband or wife, your kids. You don't have to tell Brenda at work. You don't have to tell old Grandpa Joe. You don't have to tell anyone. If you're sitting there going, I don't want people to know that, I'm that's okay. If you're still at that stage, if you're still a bit scared of what people will say, cool. Do it for yourself though. Just take a few hours, put your headphones on and watch it, and then email us and let us know what happens after that. But it's
and be aware that, according to many studies that have been done on consciousness, one enlightened soul counterbalances the negative frequency of 70 million others. Now think about that in terms of a scale. You've got one over here, 70 million on the other side that are in a negative vibration, that are in the sheeple vibration. And we're using that word not as a put down, just as a quick way to explain where the herd is running and people are following a leader that does not have their best interests at heart. They're leading them to slaughter. They're leading us into being, tagged, chipped, controlled, told when to go out.
The only word, Chris said it before,
When-
the only word is slavery. And I used to not use it because it scared me. And I thought it's too extreme, Greg. It's not slavery. It is slavery. And whether or not we're still working in our jobs, and whether or not we still have our Netflix at home, and whether or not we still have our takeaway dinners and we can do our little holidays and things like that, I don't care. It's still slavery when your soul is controlled by an entity with dark agendas, and that's the only way to explain it.
And all it takes is a few in the light to overthrow. And that's why the star seeds. Now, star seeds, and Chris, I'd like you to talk a bit more about this. What are the star seeds going through at the moment? What is that all about? Because we've almost got 3 sections. So we've got the star seeds, light workers, we've got the cabal, and then we've got the humans. So I'll let you explain that one a bit better.
Well, they're in overdrive, to be perfectly honest. I don't think they've ever worked so hard in their life. It's a really good question, because what I've found this year is, in all honesty, I've pretty much found myself. And you talk about starseeds and light workers, and I'm not necessarily putting myself into any category that people want to debate, but what I have found for myself is that a sense of purpose of why I'm here. And when you talk about star seeds or light workers or rainbow children or whatever category you want to put it in, it's really an energy. And that energy that's come to this planet is to help assist at the moment. Now, what they're basically trying to do is, for all of the human race that is here, is reset the path that we've been on for so long. And by resetting that path gently, lovingly, with beauty, that vibration is trying to tilt you ever so slightly to give you your own thought processes, your own sense of achievements, not having to listen to the cabal's regimes. That's what I'm saying. They're boxing you into what I would call a very tunnel vision world that we live in. You know, we only really see here because that's what they're allowing you to see. You know, we must work from 9 to 5, then we go home and sleep, and we wake up and we have 2 days off on the weekend, and that will be Saturday, Sunday.
And then we need our antidepressants and our drugs and everything.
Yeah, and if you... Perfect, Greg. And if all gets too much, by the way, here's a drug and you'll be fine.
That's how they make their money.
And that's just complete madness of this cycle that we're in. So when you want to talk about a new energy regime coming in, which is, you know, your Sirians and your Orions and your Palladians and your Andromedans, and I mean, these are our friends. These are people and entities or spirits or vibrations, whatever floats your boat, however you want to explain it. They only have your best interest at heart. They want Earth to ascend. We need to get through to that 5th dimensional paradigm. And the reason we have to go there is because it's evolution. It's going to happen either now or however long it takes, but it's happening. It can't be stopped. So hence the reason why they've come in is to assist us through that process, is to be able to literally hold our hand and go, it's okay, we're coming with you. We're already there and we want you, we need you, we love you. And once we're there, we will then experience what that regime is about. And I can guarantee you it's a hell of a lot better than the one we're in right now. And to us, we're not giving ourselves that chance. We are so frightened and we are so dogmatic with the way that we operate. We're a static race. We put our heads in the sand and we don't move unless we're told. And that frightens me to a point where it's like, come on, you know, we're so much better than this. And we often talk about we live in a free country and a free world and we've got clean air. Do we? Stop for a minute. We live in a free country. Do we? You're run by a government. You've got non-elected police officials running around. You've got pharmaceutical companies throwing stuff down your throat. You've got doctors that are telling you what to do. You've got politicians. You've all running your laws and your agendas. You fit into the box. You step outside of the box, you get punished by what's called draconian law. If you do your research on draconian law, you'll understand that's the regime that we're in. I'm not saying that you need to run around and be a misfit and, cause an enormous amount of disruption to your fellow man. What I'm saying is when you have that freedom and that love within you, that doesn't even become an option. You are ready to assist your fellow man. You are ready to offer kindness and receive. It's no monetary payment in return. It's not like if I give you some love and some kind words today, can you please give that back in tenfold? It's not an interest, unlike the banking systems that are around. So in getting back to answer to the question that Carrie was asking about, this different vibration and this energy that's coming in at the moment, what have you got to lose? It takes 30 seconds a day, which I said in the previous podcast, just to sit still for a moment and listen to your train of thoughts and understand that, hey, if I'm blocking media out and I'm blocking all of this craziness that's infiltrating me at the moment that I can't deal with, that 30 seconds a day will give you another opportunity and it'll give you another avenue to see how you feel. And that's when your light seeds and your workers come in, because you've got space and time. They can't help you if you're filling in every moment of your day with mindless dribble and bullshit. How are they meant to help you? Just stop for a minute. And that's when you'll be able to be connected. And once you feel that, I'll defy anyone on this planet how that makes you actually feel. If you tell me that that was the worst feeling you've ever had, I'm sorry, then you haven't actually probably forgiven yourself. You haven't actually worked on yourself enough to get out of your fear cycle. You're still trapped in the cabal cycle. That's why it feels murky, because you're still operating out of that fear cycle, which is where they want you, then you'll remain trapped. So if you can get to the other side, let those Orions and the Syrians and your faith and your vibrations and whatever box you want to put it in, let that come in and assist you, because it's not there to hurt you. It's not there to harm you. It's actually there to benefit you. And that's why they're working overtime at the moment. They care about you. I mean, how often have you had the cabal or a government actually honestly say they care about you, that they want the best for you? Just stop and think about that for a moment, that these entities and vibrations are part of our makeup, whether you like it or not. They are you. They want to assist you and they want to take you to better times. So if you can just, stop thinking for a moment, if you've made it this far in the podcast, that Chris is crazy and needs to be put in a straitjacket because he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's someone else's opinion, and I don't abide by that. That doesn't bother me. I'm not interested. I don't give a shit. What I care about is where I'm heading, and if everyone takes responsibility for their own life and not wanting someone else to fix it, then we will get there faster, and it'll be a far more pleasurable journey.
Well, you talked about clean air. Yeah, well, you talked about clean air as well. Do we have clean air? There's chemtrails. Do we have clean water? They're putting chemicals, fluoride in our water, which is known to dumb you down. It's known to inhibit the function of your
calcifies the third eye.
Which is the light of God coming through. That's the portal that receives the higher information. That's when you can critically think. That's when you can discern. That's when you have
5G.
Intuition. 5G.
Don't even get us started.
GMOs in our food. So much. Pesticides, insecticides. The list goes on. And these are governments that are so-called helping us out. Now, people have got their hand out to the government that believe the government will look after them and will prop them up via a little bit of JobKeeper at the moment or the dole. That's about to run out. That is about to run out.
Exactly.
And after that, you will be controlled within an inch of your life. Now, this is why we wanted to have this podcast today, to talk about the light workers on the planet, to talk about those, and we will mention his name again, President Trump, someone who is a symbol only. And again, as Greg said, you don't have to like the man, but let's use him as the symbol of someone in the world who is leading, is in a leadership position, who seems to be doing the right thing, who seems to want to move in the direction of equality for all, peace for all. Yes, it will take a long time, but at least we're making a start in this new age of Aquarius. We have to start somewhere. We have to put our faith in those who are in the positions at the moment that have at least made a start, and he has in the last 4 years that he's been in office. You can deny that, and you will deny it if you're listening to mainstream media, but as Greg said, as Chris said, go and do some research and you'll find out that what we're saying is absolutely correct. We have to, I feel like we're doing a massive U-turn at the moment. I feel like we've got all the light workers and the starseeds have incarnated on Earth at the moment. Like we're all on that side of the steering wheel and we're pulling so hard.
Yeah.
Like, come on, get on the side of the steering wheel with us. We need some support here, guys. Like, this is why we're talking about the frustrations that we're going through, because what we're being faced with, people were all on the bandwagon of save the children, save our children, and then went and voted for a known pedophile. The Bidens are a mafia crime family. If you didn't do your research, then you've only got yourself to blame. Or people who weren't able to vote in America but around the world are supporting and celebrating.
Oh, it's lunacy. And Carrie, the thing is,
for someone who sees energy, it disgusts us. That's why it's disgusting to our core.
And this is the thing. Even if, look, let's take Biden out of it. I'm sick of blaming one person, this person, that person, but you're right about what he's doing. But the problem really is that this is a cycle, because once Biden's gone, there'll be another one and another one and another one. And the only way we get stuck in this cycle is once they're elected, there's a good couple of minutes or a couple of days where we share it on the Facebook or we say, yay, we're in. And then we go back to our jobs, do our job. Oh, I get sick, take my drugs, they get rich. And then there's another, and it just goes on and on and on. And isn't it interesting that the first time that there's been a non-politician in the White House, look how much has actually got changed. Yes, I know that he's got a colourful history. Yes, I know that he's done some dodgy things in business. But there is one thing that, there's a few, but there's one main thing in my understanding that makes him so different, is that he can't be bought out. And interestingly, I had a few friends who are lefties, so to speak, and some family members in California, a very democratic state, say back at the start, it'd be interesting if he got in, just because he can't be bought. He really can't be. He's got no interest. And as a point of interest, he didn't even take a salary. He's one of the first presidents. He might be the first, but I have a feeling there was one other who said, no, I'm not taking my salary because I want to prove that I'm not doing this for the money. He's 70 years old. He's lived a good life. He's cool. So why is he there working his butt off? Because he's got kids. He's a family man. He's got grandchildren, and he wants to leave America in some kind of state. Now, does that mean that he did the best by everyone? No. Does that mean that he hasn't effed up over his business career? Look, we know about his bankruptcies. We know about the fraud. We know about this and his tax returns and yada, yada, yada. He is not going to be in charge for the next 100 years. What he's going to do is come in and throw a huge big spanner like that in the cogs of this disgusting cabal run machine. But not only has he thrown a spanner, along the way, he's done something which has surprised me and maybe you guys as well a little bit. He's actually improved things, because I thought he'd come along, throw a spanner in the works, cool, at least he'd break the machine and then we could fix it. But he's even gone one step further and he's actually done a few good things. So give the man his credit. But more importantly, before you start, as Carrie said, before you start celebrating what we've brought ourselves into. Now, mind you, as you said it before, Carrie, he's not president yet. And stuff, Facebook and Twitter and all these things saying, as soon as I mention something to do with 2020, it's like, just so you know, the projected president is this. And it's like, according to what? According to the millions of discovered ballots that were all 100% for Biden, or according to all of the, Will Smith's dad, he died a little while ago, but he voted for him. Did you know that? I find that pretty interesting. And there's a few other dead people that have voted. This may have been happening for a long time. Maybe Republicans have been just as bad in the past. I'm not sitting here blaming. I'm just sitting here going, wake up. Chris said it before. If you think that we're just going to go back to normal and everything's going to be good, it's not about that. This is 2020. It's time to wake up.
Agreed. And the thing is, I mean, the US election's a classic example. I'll give you a live evidence of what happened. And I was sharing this with Carrie the other day, that the minute that the Trump regime had implied that there were incorrect ballots and watermarks on ballot papers that should have been there that weren't there, and dead people voting, et cetera, the minute that that was actually aired into the general public, the next day, because obviously they're on a different regime, it's night and day on the other side of the world, there was a myriad of barrage of media that had already announced that as false, as that's
ready to go.
Researched that, we've legally looked into that, that comment is false. It's like, that was 6 hours ago.
How?
Hasn't even been to court, hasn't been, but just do research. Go onto Google and actually watch all these websites that have gone in and basically just put their balls on the line and said, we've done all the research on Trump's scenario there, we found that to be false. Now, if you've done any more research, you'll understand anything that's controversial against the cabal is some sort of fact checker website that has, and who the hell are these people? That's just Billy Bloggs sitting at home with his hands up his nuts.
It's probably a robot. It's probably a software program.
It's all it is. It's paid employees to say, no. I mean, we don't know who they are, yet we're happy to believe something that's been written on a computer and we don't even know who they are.
I shouldn't laugh, but I mean, it's just...
But there's your example.
It's unbelievable.
But we take that as gospel.
Yep.
And this is the regime we're in. We're so dumbed down by media and we're so dumbed down by the information that we get that we just eat it up and we decide that that's truth. And unfortunately, I will have a crack at the sheep because they eat this stuff up for breakfast and they go, but how would anyone want that to happen to us? Surely they're humans just like us and they would want the best for us. As Greg said, wake up. They don't care about you. They honestly don't care. You're over there living your little mundane life. If you fall off the planet tomorrow, they don't give a shit. All they care about is, as Greg said earlier, follow the money train. And you can go back to the 13th century and you'll watch the money train. If you follow that, you'll understand it's about collectively getting together the world's wealth because you can dominate. And I touch on this in my workbook. We name names in there. We give you the evidence about where the money train is. And as long as they're stimulating the wealth, they have control over the media, space travel, or the technology that's going on. We are living in a technocratic society. Have a think about that for a minute. Why do they want you in a technocratic society? So they can monitor you. They want to know where you are.
Control.
You're not that important, trust me, that they need to know that you just had a shit and when you went and bought some chemicals. They don't care. They want to know where you are at any moment so that they can either grab hold of you, eradicate you, lock you up, because for some minute that you may have gone against the regime.
You're dangerous.
That is called slavery.
It's slavery.
And which way you bake it or shake it, you are living as a slave. You don't have any rights. Go to court. Do something outside that's illegal and make yourself go to court, sit in front of a judge and find out how many rights you have. There's your example. Because you'll be locked up faster than you can breathe. And that's how it works. I'm sorry, but if you think that's crazy, go and don't do it.
And now we want Biden, who's famous for saying, I want to the Democratic governors who support him, they want to defund the police. I mean, it's unbelievable. I want to know, Carrie, I want to ask you something as we kind of head towards the end. So speaking on this fact checker, because I haven't meditated on this yet, and I think I'm going to, and I find this really interesting. Sure, there must be a part of humans that feel when we have a period of uncertainty, we need someone to actually guide us. And because as sheep, we're not used to our rituals, we're not checking in with ourselves, we're not meditating, we're not grounded, we're not connected to Gaia. Father Sky, we're not connected to our starseed. The list could go on, right? So there's no connection, there's no self-awareness. So instead of saying, you know, and I talk to Carrie most days because we work at My Health Yoga, we run teacher training, there's podcasts, there's courses, and then we have to talk a lot about our dogs and other important things. And when we talk, when we say this almost every day, when we're trying to fact check something, we'll come from the conscious brain for a moment and we'll go, oh, well, I know that because I read it. And then we'll catch ourselves and we'll say, oh, but I don't even need to say that to you because I can remote view, I can trust my intuition. We know that we're psychic and we have no problem in trusting that. And like Chris said before, he doesn't need to read about it because he's an expert in energy. So I want to know what's missing for the sheep, that they need someone to go, this has been fact checked, that's been fact checked, this is what you should, this is what you shouldn't. For those listening who are thinking, I don't want to be like that, I just don't want to be sitting here, maybe Carrie's wrong, Chris is wrong, Greg's wrong, where can they turn to and what can they do? I guess in the immediate future, we've already mentioned our healing program, which we'll probably put a link up to if we can on this podcast to the healing program. And we'll put this on our Facebook. We'll put a link up as well so you can jump on that quickly. But what else can people do to become their own fact checker?
What a great question. And if anything, what we like to do, that's why we did the Awaken New Earth healing program. We like to join the dots very closely together, not just have all this rhetoric and pontificate and we're healers and we're psychics and we know all of these things.
It's got to be a point, yeah.
Yeah, we actually want to lead you step by step into how you can make a difference. So yeah, absolutely love that question. Well, intuition is just like flexing a spiritual muscle, same as what you go to the gym or you do yoga and you practice your intuition, and over time that spiritual muscle will grow. So you have to dedicate a little bit of ritual time every single day or every other day to trusting your intuition, and you can trial it with the most simplistic things. Simple things like when you go to the supermarket, if you're well, I shouldn't say supermarket because, you know, that's probably not really where you're going to get the good food from. But anyway, the organic market where we shop.
Farmers market.
Yeah, farmers market or the organic section, at least in the supermarket, while you're trying to wade through all the disgusting processed food. But anyway, I digress. We might do another podcast on that. And your intuition may be saying to you, you really need to get olives. And your logic says, no, I've got olives. I don't need olives. And your intuition says, you really need to get olives. You want to have that Greek salad later. You really need olives to go there. No, I've got olives. So you ignore your intuition and you get home and you find that you did have olives, but the container had split and it had gone over all through the fridge and you couldn't use those olives, and you're really bummed because your intuition told you to get olives. If only you had trusted, you'd be enjoying your Greek salad with your olives. Now, that's a funny example, but it's a real example that happens, I would say, most days in people's lives, where the whisper's there. And if you put it into scientific sense of right brain versus the left brain. And when we say right brain, we're talking about the intuitive brain, the creative brain, the spiritual brain, as opposed to the left brain. The left brain was the one that was telling you the logical side. No, I've got olives. The right brain kept whispering at you the hunch, the knowing, the whether it's the psionic intelligence in the gut, whether it's the knowing in your heart. You know, it comes through. If you're aware of your chakra system, there's a 7 energetic centers that give you biofeedback all of the time. Some of us are more attuned to one chakra than the other. Get in touch with that part of yourself that is feeding the information back to you, that knows more. Greg, you said it right at the beginning of this podcast so beautifully, that you can't always trust the eyes that look out into the world. You've got to trust the energy centers, the internal self. That's where the truest and highest information and knowledge and wisdom is coming from. So you've got to practice it. If something doesn't feel right, it's not right. In the age of Aquarius, when we said that the mantra for that age is, I know. Listen to your own language. I always say to people, did your ears hear what your mouth just said? You know, remember that. Did your ears hear what your mouth just said? Because you will tell yourself the truth. I know he's having an affair. I know he is. oh yeah, but logically, no, that doesn't add up. And then he told me this, and I'm going to believe his lie, and I'm going to go against my gut, and I'm going to go against my hunch, and I'm going to go against what I said that I know, and I'm going to, no, I trust him, I'll stay with him. And then you find out, yeah, no, he was having the affair. You could have left him 3 years ago and been free from that toxic relationship.
Did your ears hear what your mouth said? I love that.
Yeah, you know what you know. Listen to yourself. Intuition. If anyone wants to get Intuition 101 down, intuition is the very first knowing. After that comes logic. Let me repeat that. Intuition is the very first knowing. After that comes logic. Logic is never the correct path. Mm-hmm. It seems like it is, but remember, that's how we're conditioned here in the Western world. And that's what the Cabal wants you to do. They want you to live in the left brain. They want you to live in fear and anxiety and depression. That's what they want for you, formulas. That's what they want. But the starseeds have incarnated with a specific mission at this time to help the humans wake up, and to help the Cabal and all the Dracos. If they choose to, they can wake up too. It's not about separation. We can all go as one. You know, if you follow QAnon, and it's not that we're into QAnon because we believe in everything that they say, but they do have a very good mantra, which is where we go one, we go all. And it's beautiful because it's saying, let's go as a collective. Let's all head towards the light. You know, it's beautiful.
Let's all ascend.
Yeah. So you will always know. Your intuition comes bang. That's your first knowing.
They've set us up really well for this year because we've got the pantomime of the what I call COVID theme, because for me it's about, as you know, it's like a dress up party, but it's not a very fun one. And they've set us up really well because now we've got the fact checkers that I love telling us to trust the medical experts, however, only the ones that they allow you to trust, because even then there's been, and you can research this on your own, I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but have a look at the medical experts from China and the States who have died this year in extremely mysterious circumstances. This sounds like conspiracy theory, Greg's a nutter, and it's a movie. And the reason that they want it to sound so crazy is so that your cognitive dissonance says, well, that's not possible. Because if I said that to you know, Auntie Barb at the Christmas party, if I said, well, that doctor got killed because they spoke out about the appropriate treatment for COVID, of course Auntie Barb's going to go, Greg's a loony. And that's what they rely on. But if you look at that, if you look at what medical experts they're allowing on the social portals and on mainstream media, and who they're married to, related to, do they have investments? Do they have patents? Which is legal in the States. And I find that alarming, that you can be a medical expert and have a patent on a vaccine. How does that work? Who are they in bed with, for want of a better phrase? And then interestingly, the ones that come out, that they come out against it. And there's quite a few really incredible immunologists, virologists, doctors that are speaking out. They disappear off the face of the earth. Sometimes literally, but at least they disappear off the portals. They're fact-checked, nope, and they're dangerous, And to sum up, I saw on one of the portals today a beautiful cartoon about what the conspiracy theorists, I prefer the term truthers, I love that term, got that from Magenta, but let's say conspiracy theorists, what we look like. For the most part, we're pretty normal, calm, we have good skin, reasonably good health. I have very good health, so do you guys. We eat food from the earth, and we like doing things which include looking after our bodies and just reading. And, you know, we're not, I don't have a tinfoil hat. I'm an acupuncturist, but even then, I still don't have a tinfoil hat. However, if you look at the people who are doing the right thing, according to social media and the mainstream media, they're the ones who are driving around in their cars by themselves wearing a mask, or they're going to the shops and their kids are in masks. Now they're fiddling with it. And if anyone, and I've looked at masks and how to wear a mask and why to wear a mask, because I've assisted in different areas in hospitals and at surgeries and things like that. There are very specific ways to wear it, to put it on, to take it off, how to dispose of it. There's no education on that because they just want you to have your face covered, basically. But you've got your face covered, and then you've got to have your gloves on, and then you've got to be socially distancing, because as long as you're nowhere near someone, and then you've got to high five with the elbow, and then you've got to can't use cash. I mean, really, who looks more crazy? And I'm just going to say it, it's not us. The truth is, we're out here saying we don't have anything to win. We're not out here thinking, oh, well, I'm going to make $500 billion off a vaccine tomorrow. Nah, we're not even asking for money to look at our podcast and to listen. We're not in it for any ulterior motive. And I know Chris the same and Carrie's the same. However, again, if you follow the money, look at what the clowns are trying to do. It's literally a three-ring circus, and I wouldn't even buy a ticket because they're not even clever. It is a boring circus. It's while
and it's satanic rituals.
It's a satanic ritual with a clown mask.
Understand the cabal. There are specific black magic rituals in place, which draws energy to them. Now they use that malevolently. So different.
And they use universal laws.
That's right. And these are why, this is again back to why the starseeds came for a specific mission at this time, because they knew that we were going into the age of Aquarius. We knew, therefore, that the cabal was going to really rev things up in order to maintain their power, because as the ages change astrologically, as the photonic light comes in, as Gaia herself, or Gaia as many people say, is going to ascend, therefore they want to shut that light down. They have to keep us in a fear vibration for them to sustain their energy on this planet. This is why COVID is going on. This is why we're saying it's a pantomime. It's not real. So don't for 1 second believe that it is real. And therefore, they have to get us to engage in their satanic rituals. Now, 6 feet apart, if you look at any satanic ritual, you can look it up on the internet. Pretty easy to see what they do. 6 feet apart, they are masked. There are certain things that they do, and they have us doing it. Well, not me. I haven't done it once.
And I won't.
But they have people doing it en masse. And to that point, and maybe you can speak about this, Chris, to that point, people feel like they do not have a choice, that they have to wear masks and they have to
do the right thing, stay safe.
Yeah, you don't.
Whenever you see the word safe, just replace it in your mind with controlled, because as soon as you do that,
well, that's exactly what it is. If you look at every single regime that's been put in about this so-called COVID-19, every step of the way, with the social distancing, the masking, every possible prevention that they have asked you to do is about distancing away from your fellow man. So if they can create division and isolation, what does that create? Levels of anxiety, depression, fear. When you don't have to have a PhD in doctorism to be able to work that out.
Nope.
If you can't be with your family, or if you are isolated, then that sets off a whole emotional regime that you have no control over. So once they've actually got you into that fear mode, there's no way out, because they own your ass. Because you're suddenly looking for your pharmaceuticals or to go outside, but I'll have to wear the mask. So everything that they control, your timelines, everything that you need to survive. I mean, even look at the way they've dribbled the cash out to JobKeeper. I mean, the prerogative was to shut SME, small to medium-sized business, because that is, once they've got that out of the way, again, it's about the money train. Support the big ones, get rid of the little ones. And once we've controlled the little ones and they become our army of people that are devoted to the regime, that's basically what they're trying to do. They're trying to create an entire global race that bows to them and worships their set of agendas and their rules. Hence the reason why we've got the lightworkers coming in to try and turn that upside down. Because if you want to live in a world that provides you with only a set amount of rules to govern your life, and you think that's fair and reasonable, you just knock yourself out and go and try that for a moment and see how that makes you feel. Again, then stop telling me you live in a free country. Stop telling me that you can go to work whenever you want and you can earn whatever you want. Bullshit. If we were that rich, we'd all have the money that they're on. Now, I'm in a position where I rejected WorkKeeper. I could have got it and I could have given it to my staff, but I'm not interested in dirty, filthy money.
Mm.
If I can't provide for my staff and for myself through my own generosity and my own way of finding a new way through, I'm not answering to the regime. I'm not falling for that trick. Now, I'm not saying that everyone was in that position. I've had many, many clients that have been in extraordinarily terrible positions. And my heart went out to them at the time, and then many were forced into that regime. Doesn't mean that just because you had to get that handout or apply for something to get you through that you have to then slave to them and become powerless to them. You know, we all can change it in an instant. And this is why it's been such a fascinating year in 2020. I mean, you know, one of the things I like to say is, and Carrie alluded on earlier, that, you know, if you look through your eyes, it'll be what is in front of you. You will see what you want to see, and that is lies and deception. But because it's the two eyes that are looking out, that's the movie that rotates.
Mm.
The only eye that tells the truth and never leaves you astray is the third eye. This is the one that we put on the back burner.
The fact checker.
If you want the truth, you look through that eye every single time you want an answer. It will not lie to you. These lie to you because of the world they've created. So from that point of view, yeah, it's up to every individual person to work out whether they want to align with the cabal and live a life that is spread out for you, laid out for you. So you basically become, I don't know if anyone's seen the movie The Stepford Wives. Go and watch that.
Oh, yeah.
That is basically what your life's going to be.
Yep.
So the other alternative, which for some reason we're too frightened to even give a chance or even have a look at, is the one that you create for yourself and your children and your parents and those that you love. So make your choice.
And I think
I personally don't care which one you do. I know where I'm going. And
yeah, I love that, Chris. I was just going to say, and I think it's so clear talking about the COVID pantomime this year, if it wasn't for that, and I'm not saying whether it's real or fake, you can make your own decisions on that, but if it wasn't for that, what else would they have had? What other card would they have had? They did not have a Trump card. So the only thing the cabal had to play was this one thing that could scare us all. Now, mind you, we've had influenzas. We've had everything else going on. We've got obesity. We've got people smoking cigarettes in the streets. We've got cancers caused by mobile phones. There's so much that if you really want to be scared of something that's going to kill you, there's quite a bit to pick from. But no. It has to be it has to be a respiratory virus, which is lethal for those with comorbidities, like, you know, the elderly or the immune compressed. Now, sure, let's care for them as we would for any other new virus which exists. Let's care for them. Why is it that they've now chosen that as a tool to suppress us and make us scared? You know, it's not, as you said before, we don't need a doctorate in fancy schmancy medicine to work this out. It's not clever.
No.
It's bloody stupid. And unless you've got your head in the sand, it's clear as day. The only thing I think that keeps coming through to me, and I'll say it as we start to end up, this will be my last little piece for today. If you're listening to this, and if you haven't watched the New Earth Project, or if you're not one of our trainees, then you might be listening to us going, oh, well, gosh, I feel great after listening to that podcast. You know, basically, this is the thing. We're just in human form. We might not be here for much longer. It doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, there's no winners or losers here, because the amazing thing is the Earth is a frequency, and the frequency is shifting. There's something called the Schumann resonance, which we have talked about in previous episodes, so go back and look for that. But the vibration of Gaia, the vibration of the Earth, is lifting and is ascending. So the question is not who will win. The question is not, will the cabal win? Will Biden win? Will Trump? It's not about winning or losing here. It's about saying, will we as a race align with this ascension of the collective consciousness? And that's something that you have to decide for yourself at a soul level. Are you ready to jump on this truther bandwagon and align with what's happening to the Earth? And this is science. I'm not making it up. This is the Schumann resonance. That is the heartbeat of the Earth. Will you align with that and ascend? Or are you going to allow yourself to be stuck in a habitual cycle of slave and slave and slave? it's a pretty simple thing. So don't worry. This isn't all doom and gloom. And like Chris said, you can change like that. Just start now and open your eyes. It's not all doom and gloom. We're not going anywhere. And yes, there are spiritual battles to be fought, but there is more than enough people. I can't believe how many people turned out to vote. I can't believe how many people are awake at the moment. I can't believe how many spiritual influencers are doing the right thing and how many people are doing the right thing at the moment. If you were to look at the social portals and at MSM, it doesn't look like they're out there. But they're out there because I meet random people in the street who say they're aware of what's going on. So we're here. We're not going anywhere. It's not about winning or losing. Just you speak for yourself, like Chris said, and your soul will ascend. And that's the only reason we're here.
If you're really in touch with your divinity, you know you're looked after no matter what, in every single moment. And if you live with that peace and that trust, that in itself changes the vibration. That changes what's happening here in the 3D structure, because this is just a hologram. This is just a reflection of our internal state. And that's why we say, come on, everyone, get on board. We may as well enjoy beautiful Mother Earth and this golden age that's available in the age of Aquarius. So make sure that you jump on the steering wheel with us as we do the U-turn. We'd like some extra support there, please. So if you want to visualize that now in your mind, that we're all just turning that wheel around, pull it hard, pull it with all your might, do the work, integrate the emotions, trust, and maybe throw in a little bit of patience as well, because perhaps we need a little bit of patience at the moment just to see how, because I guess we wanted to talk about what was going on with American politics, just to see how that's going to play out. I'm just going to state it here right now that everything's fine. I personally believe that Trump will be re-elected, or he'll maintain his seat in office. And I believe if you want a little bit more information about what he's already done in the 4 years he's been in office, go over to Charlie Freak's YouTube channel and watch these 3 amazing videos called Fall of the Cabal. Cannot recommend that enough. Charlie's done his work. He's done his research. He has got insider information, as well as he is one of the most powerful psychics and truthers on the earth at the moment. I trust him. He has a beautiful heart. So definitely go and watch that. But we wanted to speak up, to our tribe. And I want to do a shout out to the My Health tribe, because I have to say we have got the best people following us. Whether you're listening to this on Spotify or Podcast One or wherever else we are, YouTube, our own My Health TV, we're around in different places. But the most beautiful feedback comes in from the most aware people. I have to say, you guys, I know you're doing the work. What we're saying really is just a representation of all your voices. And wow, sometimes I feel like I'm living in a bit of a bliss bubble, because I actually am one of those fortunate people that's surrounded by people who actually get it, who absolutely use their powers of discernment and who use their golden heart energy to drive this mission forward. So big shout out to our tribe in particular. And if you're new, as Greg said, to this podcast, maybe go back and listen to some of the other podcasts that we've done. Go over to Magenta Pixie, Charlie Freak. We love Santos Bonacci. He's absolutely amazing. He's another fellow Aussie. Make sure you're listening to him as well. And then there's many others. You'll probably be led from one to the other. But do your research. Go down those rabbit holes. But as we are saying to you, ultimately, as Chris said so beautifully, trust the one who doesn't lie. That is your own third eye. Oh, that's a poem. We might have to. That could be a new mantra. Trust the one who doesn't lie. That's your own third eye.
Love it.
Chris, anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'll just finish up quickly on a really positive note. And to everyone that's listening out there, it doesn't matter which side of the ledger that you sit on. What I think you should understand is here in the year 2020, you are the chosen ones. You are here, right now. You are the ones that are being asked to get on this bus and steer the ship, as Carrie so eloquently said. So if you feel that you're helpless or don't have a say in anything, that's incorrect. You are a beautiful beam of light. You are here. You have a voice. You have an ability to make the change. It's not about someone else doing that for you. So look at it from a point of view. If you're feeling helpless, we'll go, well, why have I been chosen? I'm here. You're here to serve a purpose, and you're here for a reason. And even if that is in this lifetime, if it all gets a little bit too hard, give yourself one goal to change one thing, just one simple little thing in your life. And that may be that you haven't spoken to, your mother for 3 or 4 years because you had an argument and you haven't been able to find that ability to reconnect. Maybe it's about you picking up the phone or going and knocking on the door and giving her a hug. That's one thing. And that's about forgiveness, and that's about healing yourself. And if you can heal yourself and take responsibility for your actions, then this light ship changes very, very quickly. So that's my message to everyone: is don't feel helpless. Don't feel that you have a zero voice. You don't. You're here for a reason. You've been chosen. You've got powers that you haven't even believed in. They are available to you. Just give yourself an opportunity. What's the alternative? If it doesn't work out for you and you think you're too powerful, then come back down. At least you've vibrated up. So I'm just saying, give yourself a chance, people, and you will be loved. We're not people that are going to condemn you, hate you, ridicule you, put you in the corner. I mean, in my world, everyone gets a fair chance. So my love goes out to you, and we can do this together.
Absolutely. So, Greg, I might get you to wrap it up because my dog's going to start barking again.
Good old Coco. He's defending the light warriors.
He's working hard, Coco.
So a few quick things. We are heading in towards the last little bit of 2020. So at My Health, that means that we are getting ready for the next calendar year of teacher training. So we are putting up our dates for teacher training. If you're listening to this as a trainee and you're looking at doing another course with us in studio, then check online, because our dates will probably be up by the time that you're listening to this. If you're listening to this and you're interested in training with us, don't forget we have online training available around the world, as well as our in-studio training if you're here in Queensland. But aside from that, you can join us on My Health TV for classes and meditations at any time. Plus, you've got the free YouTube channel with a lot of our classes, meditations, and our incredible Awaken New Earth healing program. So there's lots of content out there for you. We're here to assist. You can message us at any time. If you have been drawn to listen to us, there is beautiful Coco, who just wanted to join in, the true light worker of the My Health tribe. And I think the light above might be Laz as well. I reckon he's coming in too because he wanted to say hi. But if you have been if you've been called to listen to the podcast, as Chris said, you've been called for a reason, and that reason is more than enough for you to feel worthy, to practice self-forgiveness and to practice self-love. You don't need any other reason than that. You're alive, you're here, you're listening to us, you're part of our tribe. So welcome, and if you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you so much, everyone. And from all of us to you, we send you love and light and a big namaste.
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 My Health World, namaste, enlightenment.